He's just not a fair person. He's very greedy when it comes down to money.
Everyone think you're in charge of the finances. I mean, everyone...
Yeah, no, this is something I began to realize because Kody was always telling everybody that I was somehow calling the shots on the money.
It started with a single Instagram story, just an hourglass emoji, a spreadsheet icon, and the caption, "Delayed doesn't mean deleted." It was posted late at night, stayed up for only 10 minutes, and came from Christine's private backup account, the one fans know she only uses when something is brewing. And like clockwork, fans went into detective mode.
If this Matt's going into my house, then you're going to be a better husband. You're going to spend more time at my house. You know, more grocery money. I had to essentially kind of talk her into it. Hey, Kody. Hey!
Within hours, Reddit was ablaze. Facebook groups were combing through old footage. Even TikTok had timelines forming. Because anyone who's followed the Brown family saga closely knew exactly what this meant. Something from the past had just come back to bite. And this time, it wasn't just about betrayal or favoritism. It was about money. Real hard numbers. Because buried in all that social media buzz was a familiar but half-forgotten phrase, Coyote Pass. The land that had divided them. The acreage that symbolized both the dream and the downfall of plural unity. Fans remembered that it had finally been sold. Quietly, under the radar.
When it comes to Coyote Pass, do you think Kody is going to be fair to all of the other women when it comes to the division of what the asset should be?
Absolutely not. He's just not a fair person. He's very greedy when it comes down to money.
More than 8 months ago, no grand announcement, no confessional glow-up, just a closed escrow and a vague mention from Kody about moving on to a new chapter. But now, with Christine suddenly dropping cryptic hints, people started asking, what exactly happened to the money? According to insiders close to the ex-wives, a major chunk of that sale, over $1.2 million, was wired into a shared LLC account that had once been a family pot, but had gradually become a holding space. Kody and Robyn controlled. But here's the kicker. More than $350,000 of those proceeds, which were reportedly set aside to reimburse past building costs, vanished within 12 hours of hitting the account. No explanation, no invoices, just gone. At the time, Kody dismissed it as pre-approved payments, and no one pushed back, at least not publicly. But behind the scenes, Christine and Janelle had questions. And now they had proof, because over the last several weeks, as tax forms rolled in and K-1s landed in mailboxes, those vague numbers from last year suddenly snapped into focus.
I mean, what would you think about putting it in your garage?
Kody, how often are you going to wrestle?
If I did it
See, this is my
every day
point.
with Hunter, is that my garage?
The math wasn't mathing, and the paper trail, which once felt foggy and inconsequential, had just become crystal clear. Transfers, timestamps, deposit slips, and more importantly, destination accounts. And if fan whispers are right, one of those accounts links directly to a reactivated business under Robyn's name. So when Christine posted that story, she wasn't just being shady, she was setting a fuse. Because if what insiders are saying is true, the next few weeks could expose one of the biggest financial betrayals in the family's entire history. Not from Kody, not from TLC, but from someone who once claimed to just want peace. And this time, Christine's not the only one holding receipts. Back then, everything was supposed to be over. The land had sold, the lawyers were done, TLC had packed up their gear for a mid-season break, and for the first time in years, Kody wasn't talking about blueprints or family compound dreams. He was talking about closure. At least, that's what he told people. Because on paper, the sale of Coyote Pass had finally gone through. The buyer, a local Flagstaff investor, closed at just over $1.2 million. And the funds? They were wired directly into the Brown Family Development LLC, an account technically still co-managed by Kody and Robyn.
I finally told Robyn that I really can't stand the idea of living here, at least at this point. Robyn, I think, was the last to give up on the dream, but she's finally consented. Yeah, let's go ahead and sell. I'm pretty positive that Mary and Janelle want to sell.
Sources say there was a plan, at least in theory. Each ex-wife was supposed to receive a reimbursement based on how much they had contributed to taxes, prep costs, and maintenance over the years. Janelle was due the largest slice. She'd carried much of the property tax burden after Christine exited in 2021. Mary had invested in planning fees and site surveys back when she still believed she had a place there. And Kody? He was supposed to act as the neutral in-betweener, the administrator, if you believe how he framed it in earlier seasons. But what no one realized was that Robyn had quietly become a signing authority on the LLC account months prior. So when the money landed that morning, clear, confirmed, and finally theirs, what should have been a clean distribution turned into a mystery. Multiple insiders now claim that instead of issuing the agreed-upon disbursements, the account saw a rapid series of withdrawals, all within a 12-hour window, each just under $10,000, all routed to pre-existing vendor accounts that no one could identify. The total? Just north of $350,000. Not all the money, No, but enough to raise serious eyebrows. And yet, at the time, no one outside the account knew. Kody reportedly told Christine and Janelle that everything was handled, and Robyn echoed the same. The money's going where it's supposed to, she allegedly said in a now infamous group text. But when Christine asked for statements, the conversation dried up, and Janelle, who still had partial access to one shared tax filing email, noticed something odd.
I'm
Are
gonna
you
talk.
telling me that's my garage?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm gonna
it's
talk.
garage.
An alone conversation, okay?
Oh, you're gonna blackmail me.
No, I'm not gonna blackmail
You really do need to, we are springing this on her.
That's only fair. Will, Christine pulls me aside and says, listen.
No vendor receipts ever arrived, no payment confirmations, just a series of cryptic deposits and a balance that had dropped by nearly a third. But they didn't push, at least not then. Maybe it was exhaustion, maybe it was strategy, or maybe it was just easier to hope Kody wasn't lying. Either way, the confrontation never happened, not until now. And that 12-hour wire spree, it sat hidden in the background like a time bomb, waiting, because Robyn may have thought she moved quickly enough to bury the trail, but what she didn't count on was Christine keeping screenshots, and Janelle quietly saving every flagged email in a folder titled Coyote Refunds. For a while, it was like nothing had ever happened. The remodels came slowly, tucked behind neutral Instagram captions and backdrops that revealed just enough to keep fans guessing. Robyn posted less, Kody stayed quiet. And without TLC's cameras rolling full-time, the trail of what happened to the Coyote Pass money seemed to dissolve into the Arizona desert. The family was in fragments. Garrison had bought his own home, triggering a bittersweet celebration that barely featured Kody at all. Maddie posted milestone moments from North Carolina, fully settled into her new life. And Christine? She was busy getting married. Her wedding to David was filmed, edited, and wrapped in what TLC clearly hoped would be a soft, feel-good narrative. Something final. Something that said, this chapter is over. But off camera, Janelle hadn't stopped watching. She didn't speak out. She didn't press Kody or Robyn for receipts. But she did what Janelle always does when something doesn't feel right. She waited. She quietly tracked interest rate changes on the LLC account, noted the timing of Robyn's landscaping upgrades, matched screenshots to zoning permits filed with the city of Flagstaff. Because even if the money was gone, the documentation would eventually catch up. That's the thing about paper trails. They don't disappear. They just go dormant.
Well, it sort of deals with the unknown. I mean, like, you don't know what else you'll be able to do. Selling it now, you know, would make it so we could pay off Coyote Pass, and then Janelle could actually build on it.
Christine, meanwhile, had boxed everything away, not because she trusted Kody to do right by the family funds, but because she'd already emotionally detached. She sold her piece of Coyote Pass for a symbolic $10, just to break free. She didn't want her name on any future land disputes, payment delays, or remodel arguments, but detaching didn't mean forgetting. And when she started prepping her taxes in early July, something told her to call Janelle. The call wasn't dramatic. No yelling, no immediate accusations. Just, hey, have you looked at your K1 yet? Christine had been expecting a modest figure, something to reflect her early exit and token payout. But what she saw instead was a chunk of money labeled operating expense, a category that made no sense, because Christine hadn't operated anything. She hadn't managed the land, made purchases, or approved vendor payments. So how was her name tied to losses she never authorized? Janelle went quiet for a beat. Then she said, "You need to see what I've been saving." And that's when it all started to click. It was supposed to be a quick catch-up, just two ex-wives trading paperwork and a few sarcastic laughs about how complicated the taxes still were, even with Kody out of the picture. But by the time Christine and Janelle wrapped their Zoom call that evening, neither of them was smiling. Because what started as a casual scan of 1099s and K1 forms turned into a full-blown red flag session. Christine had received her documents from the Brown Family Development LLC, despite selling her share of Coyote Pass nearly 2 years ago. And she wasn't just getting a token filing. She was listed as having absorbed over $48,000 in what the form called disbursement losses. Janelle, on the other hand, saw her return tagged with capital cost adjustments, totaling more than $80,000, none of which matched the withdrawals she'd signed off on. The forms were inconsistent, the math was fuzzy, and worst of all, the explanations from Kody and Robyn, if you could even call them that, didn't show up anywhere in the accounting trail. There were no line-itemized reports, no vendor invoices, just a bulk operating expense entry and a vague footnote about property-related improvements. Improvements neither woman had approved, improvements that didn't show up in any of the shared folders they used to manage together. Christine leaned back from the screen and just stared. "This isn't land stuff," she said slowly. "This is cash laundering through carpet quotes." Janelle, who had pulled up her old email receipts, nodded grimly. "There's a PayPal transaction here from October, $9,870. Memo just says vendor 12A. She scrolled further. Then 3 minutes later, same amount, different account. Same memo. That's not how property payouts work. And that's when the conversation shifted from annoyance to alarm, because suddenly the fog lifted, and they both remembered the timeline. The Coyote Pass wire hit last fall. The next morning, Robyn had texted the group chat about handling upgrades and requested no one disturb Kody for the rest of the week. At the time, Christine assumed it was emotional. She now suspected it was tactical. Janelle began dragging old files out of her tax folder, fraud alerts from the LLC bank, zoning permit links, wire transfer pings from her mobile banking app, each just under the $10,000 federal reporting threshold. Christine, staring at the screen, finally said what they were both thinking. She moved it before we even knew it cleared. And just like that, they knew. This wasn't mismanagement. It wasn't oversight. It was methodical, quiet, coordinated, and the only question left was, how much of it did Kody actually know? Kody was never supposed to find out this way. Not through a fan tag, not through a meme, and definitely not from a Reddit thread titled Kody's 350K Vanish Act. Let's talk about it. But by the time he opened his phone that morning, it was already too late. There were over 200 notifications, most of them screenshots, callouts, and brutally edited side-by-sides showing Robyn's new home upgrades compared to the day the Coyote Pass money hit. The timeline had already been built by fans. October 3rd, escrow clears. October 4th, vendor X receives $9,800. October 5th, custom drapes delivered to Robyn's front door. Kody, who once prided himself on controlling the family's narrative, was now the last to know the story. At first, he thought it was nonsense, internet noise. But then he saw something that stopped him cold. A reposted permit approval with Robyn's legal name, signed for a remodel dated less than 24 hours after the Coyote Pass funds hit the LLC account. The date matched exactly. So did the number, $91,200. And right there, under project funding source, someone had handwritten Private Trust, Brown Family LLC, in ink, on a public record. He didn't even put shoes on, just stormed through the Flagstaff house until he found Robyn in the kitchen, barefoot, buttering toast like nothing had happened. He shoved the phone in front of her face. What the hell is this? Robyn looked down slowly, scrolled, then sighed. It's for the kids, she said. He stared at her. What kids need a remodel paid for by land we were supposed to split? Robyn's voice didn't rise. She didn't flinch. We agreed the house needed updates if we were going to stay here. You knew we couldn't sell without upgrades. Kody's hands went to his hair. That money was supposed to be reimbursed to them, to Janelle, to Mary, hell, even to Christine. They were owed. They left, Robyn said sharply. They walked away. I stayed. I kept this family going, and I used the money to keep our home livable for the children who still live here. He froze, because for all his bravado, Kody hadn't really asked where the money went back then. He trusted that Robyn, the one wife still loyal to him, was handling it. But now, with public receipts flying, fan theories snowballing, and Christine and Janelle armed with actual financial docs, it was clear that the trust wasn't mutual. For the first time, Kody didn't look angry. He looked cornered. And that's when Robyn said it. If you think I stole from them, then go ahead and tell them that. But don't pretend you didn't sign the transfer approvals. You just didn't read them. Silence, because that, allegedly, was the moment Kody realized the money may have moved through Robyn, but his name had been on the dotted line all along. By the end of that same day, it wasn't just a private family feud, it was a public financial expose. Because while Kody was pacing the hallway of his Flagstaff home, still stunned by Robyn's admission, Janelle and Christine were already in motion. They knew exactly what to do. They weren't going to scream. They weren't going to beg. They were going to leak. It started small. Just a cropped screenshot posted anonymously to a private Sister Wives Facebook group, one with nearly 30,000 members, most of whom had been following the Coyote Pass drama for years. The image showed a wire transfer confirmation from the Brown Family Development LLC to a vendor ID that no one recognized. The amount, $9,820. The memo line, blank. The comments on the post exploded in minutes. One user wrote, "Anyone else notice the same exact amount posted earlier in a different thread?" Someone else replied with side-by-side screenshots. It was the same number, the same vendor code, the same day, and the pattern became impossible to ignore. Reddit caught fire next. Fans started pulling data, public zoning permits, business registrations, and even Google Maps timestamps. Someone found that Robyn's reactivated Jewelry LLC had quietly changed its name in October, just 1 week after the escrow cleared. The new business name, RB Creative Interiors LLC. The listed purpose, residential and family-focused design solutions. The registered mailing address, a P.O. box linked to a known trust administration firm that handled boutique estate planning in northern Arizona. Then came the photo evidence. TikTok sleuths shared clips from a local interior design showroom. grainy but damning. Robyn had allegedly placed a rush order just days after the transfers were made. The invoice, now circulating online, included bespoke curtains, custom dollhouse replicas, and a seasonal decor overhaul totaling more than $26,000, all paid in full. No financing, no delay, just one clean swipe, likely through one of the same LLC accounts Janelle had flagged months ago. But the most damaging receipt wasn't from the furniture store. It was a screenshot from a 2024 property permit listing. Buried in the notes was a hand-scrawled line: funding pulled from Joint Family Reserve. KB co-signed. KB, as in Kody Brown. The document was dated 3 days after the Coyote Pass money hit the account. That was it. That was the thread that unraveled the whole story. Not only had Robyn initiated the transfers, but Kody had unknowingly or maybe carelessly authorized them. His digital signature was the final stamp. By nightfall, #EscrowGate was trending on 3 platforms. Fan accounts were drawing charts, conspiracy TikToks were gaining traction, and one comment summed it up perfectly. She didn't just move the money, she built a fortress with it, and he handed her the blueprints. Kody had spent years brushing off financial questions with a shrug and a smirk, but this time the numbers weren't going away. They were viral, and they were receipted. The moment the receipts hit the internet, TLC knew 2 things. 1, the story had outgrown the edit, and 2, they couldn't sit this one out. Producers had been deep in post-production for season 20. Polishing up what was originally meant to be a redemption arc. Kody trying to rebuild his relationships. Robyn doubling down on family first. Christine's wedding playing out as a final goodbye. It was soft, it was structured, and now it was completely irrelevant. Because viewers didn't want feel-good montages anymore. They wanted fire. They wanted answers. They wanted to know exactly how $350,000 disappeared in the dark and reappeared as new curtains and remodeled hallways. And the network, to its credit, moved fast. Within 24 hours of #EscrowGate trending, 2 segment producers had reached out, one to Janelle and one to Christine. But they weren't asking about healing, they were asking for access. Would you be willing, one of the messages read, to walk us through your documentation on camera? The second was even bolder. Can we film the next phone call with your accountant? Christine, ever the strategist, didn't say yes immediately. She had leverage now. The audience was with her, the internet was on fire, and she knew exactly how to capitalize. Sources say she asked for a modified contract, one that would give her more creative input, if not over-editing, then at least over-framing. Her condition? She wanted any scene involving the missing money filmed in full daylight. No shady confessionals, no dimly lit couches. She wanted the truth told in bold, unforgiving light. TLC said yes. Janelle, more reserved, wasn't looking for a narrative spin. She just wanted the numbers to be correct. Her agreement came with a different clause: access to the raw ledger that producers had built from her past appearances. "I'm not here to relive trauma," she allegedly told them. "I'm here to balance the damn books." But Robyn? Robyn was a different story. According to insiders, the network reached out to her 3 separate times. Once through her rep, once through Kody, and once directly via producer call sheet. Each time, she pushed back. First, she asked for editorial safeguards. Then, a promise that no financial claims would be aired without context. And finally, she asked for scene approval rights, not just for herself, but for everyone's scenes involving the refund. TLC declined, firmly. That's when she allegedly threatened to walk. "If you air this without my input, I won't be part of it," she's rumored to have said. The producer's answer? "You already are?" And just like that, the season's structure was gutted and rebuilt overnight. The original arc, healing, reflection, closure, was scrapped. In its place, editors began recutting around the timeline of missing funds, permit filings, and leaked receipts. They gave the footage a new working title: The Escrow Confrontation. And Christine? She leaned in. She emailed producers a thumb drive with her screenshots, bank memos, Zelle alerts, a PDF titled "Where the Money Went" annotated, and in her message, just one line: "If you're going to tell it right." The shift from messy to legal happened faster than anyone expected. At first, it was just about receipts, public backlash, Reddit timelines, leaked invoices. But once Christine's thumb drive hit the TLC producer's desk, the tone changed. Because inside that folder were more than just screenshots. There were LLC filings, trust agreements, and a full trail of signatures, some belonging to Kody, others to Robyn, and a few tied to shell accounts that no one in the family even knew existed. That's when Christine made her next move. She didn't call a tabloid. She called her attorney, a longtime family law specialist based in Salt Lake City, someone who'd quietly helped her disentangle from Kody back when the separation wasn't even public. According to insiders close to Christine, the attorney reviewed the documents and said exactly what she'd suspected. This might be more than unethical. It could be actionable. Specifically, they flagged potential breach of fiduciary duty inside the Brown Family Development, LLC, because Kody and Robyn were still listed as managers on the business when the Coyote Pass proceeds hit. And those funds, if misused, weren't just a family squabble. They could be seen as a violation of trust obligations to the other members. In simpler terms, if they spent that money for personal use while holding a managerial role, they could be sued. Janelle, always more pragmatic, wasn't focused on suing, at least not yet, but she did hire a forensic accountant. Someone who could go back through 3 years of bank activity, trust payouts, and TLC residual disbursements. The goal? Not revenge, just math, just clarity. Because if the money was misrouted once, who's to say it hadn't happened before? Meanwhile, Kody was spiraling. Not publicly, not even loudly, but internally. He was cracking. According to one source close to the family, he'd been waking up in the middle of the night pacing the kitchen, talking to himself. If I go after her, I lose her. If I don't, I lose everyone else. Because that was the trap. Suing Robyn meant admitting he'd signed off on something he didn't understand, but not suing meant he looked complicit. And either way, the cameras were rolling. Robyn, for her part, had already moved into damage control. She'd hired her own attorney separate from Kody's legal representation. Sources say she was exploring how much discretion she had in moving the funds at the time and whether her LLC paperwork could shield her from personal liability. The answer? Unclear. But the optics were devastating. Fans weren't waiting for a court ruling. They'd already made up their minds. One popular TikTok account dubbed her the Silent Treasurer, narrating a fake voiceover of Robyn stuffing documents into a shredder while Kody begged her to explain. Another ran a side-by-side of every time Robyn cried on camera about not wanting to be the favorite, paired with screenshots of her boutique remodel invoices. The caption? Turns out she just wanted the best lighting. And through it all, the network stayed silent. Not because they didn't care, but because silence was the strategy. The more Robyn refused to film, the more valuable every second of footage became. And the more Kody hesitated, the more the audience turned to Janelle and Christine for truth. The line had been drawn, not just between the wives, but between those willing to audit the past and those still trying to erase it. By now, the internet wasn't just reacting, it was documenting. Fans had gone full forensic, pulling episode stills, rewatching scenes with new context, and uploading side-by-side comparisons of what Robyn said versus what her bank records allegedly showed. But what really shifted the tone wasn't Christine or Janelle's paper trail. It was the children's silence, and then their not-so-silent responses. It started with a story. One of Janelle's sons posted a completely black screen with the word embarrassed in small white text. It stayed up for exactly 20 minutes before being deleted, but not before fans screenshotted and circulated it like wildfire. Another adult child posted a screenshot of a Cash App transfer from Unknown Vendor LLC and captioned it, "Just glad I don't live there anymore." That one? Gone in under 5 minutes. But the message was loud and clear. They knew. Then came Maddie. She's always been the polished one, the voice of calm in the storm, trying to rise above the noise, but even she couldn't help herself. For about 3 minutes, she posted a meme from The Office, Michael Scott screaming, "I declare bankruptcy," while standing on a desk. She deleted it almost instantly, but not before followers flooded the comments with messages like, "Tell us everything," "Blink twice if Robyn emptied the account," and "Girl, we saw the curtains." That meme became a symbol. Fans were reposting it with captions like, "The moment Kody saw the escrow balance," and "Robyn when she realizes TLC owns the footage." But beneath the humor was a current of something much deeper, betrayal. Not just between spouses or co-parents, but between parents and children. Because for years, Kody had insisted the sacrifices were worth it, that the show, the land, the LLCs were all building a future for the family, a legacy. Now, that legacy looked like a paper trail of selective upgrades. Worse still, even Mary was starting to crack her usual poker face. Though she hadn't commented directly, fans noticed she'd liked several posts questioning Robyn's spending, including one that said, "Funny how the peacemaker always ends up with the full checkbook." And then, out of nowhere, she shared a throwback clip on her story, a scene from season 14, when she'd asked for funds to open another inn, and Kody had shut it down, citing tight finances. The caption Mary added this time, just 2 words. Interesting, huh? It was subtle, but in Mary speak, it was thunder. The emotional fallout was real. Adult kids were pulling away. Viewers who had once defended Robyn were now posting decade-old footage as evidence of a long con. And longtime fans were openly tagging TLC, demanding accountability, not just from the Browns, but from the producers. Stop protecting her in the edit. One viral comment read, "We want to see the unfiltered version." Behind the scenes, Kody was unraveling. He reportedly made a panicked call to one of his older sons, trying to get ahead of the headlines. The response? "I've already seen everything, and you let it happen." And that was the moment, allegedly, that Kody realized he wasn't just losing control of the narrative, he was losing his entire legacy, one untracked transaction at a time. They called it refund confrontation in the edit bay, but by the time the crew finished cutting the scene, even that felt too tame. This wasn't just a confrontation, it was a reckoning. It opens quietly. Janelle walks into the filming location, not a cozy home, not a confessional set, but a neutral meeting space dressed like a real estate office. No TLC mood lighting, just daylight and paper. So much paper. Stacks of documents, a laptop, highlighters, printouts with arrows, timestamps and bank headers. Christine's already seated, scrolling through a spreadsheet. Cool as ever. The camera crew's mics are already hot because they know this is the season. Kody arrives late, alone. No Robyn. His face says everything. He doesn't sit. He doesn't speak. Janelle starts first. Calm. Professional. We need to go over the distributions, she says, sliding a folder across the table. I know you probably didn't mean for this to happen, but I need you to see what you signed. Christine doesn't even blink. We have a trust fund labeled Brown Family Reserve. It was drained in 48 hours after the sale. And here, she taps the paper, is your digital signature on the release form. Kody stares at the folder like it's on fire. I trusted Robyn to handle those transfers. Christine leans in, and she trusted you wouldn't read the fine print. Then the door opens. Everyone turns. Robyn walks in, escorted by a producer. She's wearing a blazer, serious, almost corporate. But the second she sees the cameras, she freezes. Janelle speaks before she can. We're already rolling. You can sit or you can walk. Robyn doesn't sit, but she doesn't leave either. She steps forward, looks directly at the stack of statements and says it again. The line that's become her signature. It was for the kids. This time, no one buys it. Christine stands. She's holding something, an external drive. She sets it down on the table, right next to the paperwork, and looks directly at the producer. This has every flagged transaction, every mismatch, every permit, every contract with his name, her name, and the LLC accounts. She turns to Kody. We asked for transparency 2 years ago. This is what it looks like now. Kody lowers his head. Robyn folds her arms. No one speaks. Then, as the cameras roll, Christine delivers the final blow. It's not about the money anymore, it's about what you signed away. Your credibility, your control, your family. The screen cuts to black. Then one final shot, the TLC call sheet, leaked weeks ago, now confirmed on screen. Scene title, checkbook drop, B-roll priority. And just like that, the season resets. No redemption, no unity, just consequences. So now the question hangs in the air. What happens next? Does Kody finally admit how deep the damage goes? Does Robyn sit for a real confessional or disappear entirely from the story she helped write? Will Christine and Janelle keep pushing forward, armed with proof and public support? And will Mary speak, truly speak, now that the silence has been shattered? As for TLC, they haven't said a word, which for longtime viewers says everything, because silence from the network means the footage is locked, the story is told, and the season, it's coming fast. So tell us what you think. Should Robyn be held financially accountable for how the Coyote Pass money was spent? And if TLC keeps sanitizing the truth, will you keep tuning in? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned, because whether it's legal fireworks, family implosions, or one final confession that changes everything, the next video on your screen is waiting. And trust me, you won't believe what's coming next.